The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Hello, and welcome to the All Monitor Brief. It's April 23rd. I'm Kristen Tallman. Today's main segment is a conversation with Amberin Zaman, All Monitor's chief correspondent, on her recent reporting trip to Syria, where she spoke with ISIS members and wives in the Kurdish-led self-administration region. But first, let's get you caught up on the headlines. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken suggested Monday the State Department would make public this week its plan to withhold aid from an Israeli military unit accused of human rights violations in the West Bank. The Israel-Hamas war entered its 200th day on Tuesday, with fears mounting of an Israeli invasion in the overcrowded south of Gaza amid calls for hostages to be freed. An independent review group on the United Nations Agency for Palestinians, otherwise known as UNRWA, found neutrality-related issues, but noted Israel had yet to provide evidence for allegations that a significant number of its staff were members of terrorist organizations. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan made his first visit to Baghdad in nearly 13 years, where he signed an agreement between Turkey, Iraq, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates on a major transport project linking Iraq to Europe. Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah movement said it launched drone strikes on two North Israel bases Tuesday in retaliation for the killing of a fighter Israel described as significant. Now, on to the main segment. Hey, Amberin, welcome to the All Monitor Brief.
Oh, thanks for having me again, Kristen.
So you just got back from a big reporting trip to Syria. Tell us a little bit about why you went there and what you found.
So I went to northeast Syria, which is controlled by the Kurdish-led administration there, and that's where you have some 900 U.S. special forces who notionally protect that area. And I went there hoping to talk to some members of ISIS Khorasan. This is the group that just attacked Moscow, killing over 143 people. The group that was formed principally in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, and composed mainly of Tajiks, Uzbeks, etc. And of course, I know that the local Kurdish forces there, who have, as you know, thousands of ISIS fighters in custody, had a great number of Tajiks. And as I said, I was hoping I could interview them to get more insight on this group, but something else happened. So they said they would get me some Tajiks and ended up giving me some Uyghurs. I know it sounds like I went to the restaurant and ordered chicken and got spaghetti instead. But in the meantime, of course, the big story really is the impact of Turkish bombing on the critical infrastructure there. And so what I did was to go to the strike sites and to look at the damage with my own eyes. And it was just horrendous. We're talking about oil pipelines that were struck that caused pollution of the rivers. So I saw these black rivers, medical facilities where they hit an oxygen plant, a plant that was producing oxygen for medical purposes, numerous such places, power stations. And of course, all of this is having a huge impact on daily life there, but also on the detention camps, the camps and prisons where these ISIS people are being held. And this, in turn, is having a very negative impact on security.
Wow. Okay. So because of Turkish strikes, the environment and the surrounding has made that area really difficult to live in. But then there's this added layer of detention camps where ISIS families live. And were you able to talk to anyone in the camps, the detention camps, and then talk a little bit about, like, you know, with all the impact of the strikes, how people have gone on with life or what different ways they've tried to circumvent some of these impacts?
So in the camps, yes, I absolutely did speak to women, ISIS women, I guess you can call them. They're the wives of ISIS fighters who are being held in these two camps called Al-Hol and Roj camp. And they're there with their kids. And they said to me at Roj camp, which is the much better of those two camps, the conditions are much better, where they used to have 24-hour electricity, and they no longer have electricity. So one immediate impact is, apart from the inconvenience of not having electricity, is that their kids used to watch TV and stuff, and that sort of kept them in line. But now with no TV, they're out, beyond the supervision of their parents or their mothers. And this is leading to radicalization among them, or should I say re-radicalization of them. And there are gangs being formed, and these kids are pretty violent. They throw rocks at people who work for non-governmental organizations. They're aid workers. They throw rocks at incoming cars. They have packs of stray dogs that they train to attack people. And also the security situation, as I said, when there's no electricity, the security cameras go out. And so quite a few people have attempted to escape, and some have. So there's that. But also for climate-wise, it's, very hot there in the summer. It's like 50 degrees. And so they won't have air conditioning. They won't have any means of cooling themselves. It's just going to get probably even more violent as people get more and more frustrated with living conditions there. As for ordinary people, obviously their lives are terribly affected. We're talking about hospitals. We're talking about bakeries. When you lose power, it has a cascading effect, of course. And so you need to use generators, but then generators use fuel. And because the oil fields and gas facilities have been struck, fuel prices have just shot up and production has gone down. So again, as I said, cascading effects. And how do people cope? Well, I went to this one village where people had banded together to buy a generator to sort of make do, and they were kind of coping and managing to irrigate their fields, but obviously not on a level that they needed to. So life has become very, very difficult for people. It was already incredibly difficult for people. So it's just even more miserable, basically.
Wow. And I mean, how has the Kurdish-led self-administration attempted to contain this? And I mean, it may be even more terrifying. What does this mean for ISIS? And there's been sort of a resurgence with the attack in Moscow. Curious, kind of forward-looking, if you have any thoughts there.
Well, I mean, of course, what anchors the local administration there is the fact that the US government and other members of the coalition, France, the UK, seem to be doing nothing to stop Turkey, to not be using their leverage. And so Turkey keeps striking. They just struck an oil field a couple of days ago again. So there apparently is no way of dissuading Turkey, or at least there appears to be no meaningful attempt to do that. And one reason for it, of course, is that with everything that's going on in Gaza, Ukraine, Turkey, a critical NATO ally, has suddenly become much more important again. And so when the West is weighing its priorities, obviously Turkey comes first, not the Kurds. And the Kurds are feeling that very acutely. And they're kind of feeling betrayed as well. And they caution, they say, look, ISIS is resurging. The number of attacks just this past month alone in March, I believe there were 67, if I'm not mistaken, attacks in the northeast, but also many, many more in the government-controlled parts of Syria. This is going on. And because it's not Western lives, people don't seem to be paying attention. But ISIS has threatened to strike the Olympic Games. It's been talking about attacking the UEFA Cup final games. And they did this thing in Moscow. So ISIS is a threat. And as the commander-in-chief of the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is the US-led coalition's top ally in the fight against ISIS, told me, the conditions exist currently for a full ISIS resurgence. And, maybe the West will wake up when it's back again, striking them in the heart of Europe. But until such time, apparently, they're just looking the other way.
Amberin, terrific reporting. Thanks so much for giving us all the details and more.
Okay, thank you, Kristen.
That's it for today, April 23rd. You can read Amberin's feature and more stories impacting the region at allmonitor.com.